I want all you skinhead to get up on your feet. Put your braces together and your boots on your feet. And give me some of that old moon stomping. Get ready. We got 3 million miles to reach on the moon. So let's start getting happy now. Ready? Yeah, 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 yeah.
Welcome to Disruptarian Radio. I'm your host, Rich Garvey Banton. Today, we're diving into the world of Skinhead Reggae with two special guests. Joining us is a traditional skinhead from the original movement, now in his 70s, and a music producer who made waves in the 1970s reggae scene. We'll explore the roots of this unique genre and its cultural impact. Before we begin, I'd like to remind our listeners that here at Disruptarian Radio, we're proud to showcase both classic and contemporary skinhead reggae, as well as old-school roots reggae. Now, let's get this conversation started.
Let me take you back to the late 60s. I was just a young lad in London, and the air was buzzing with this new sound. It all started when we'd gather at the local dance halls, and the DJs would spin these incredible Jamaican tunes. The beats were faster, more energetic than anything we'd heard before. It was like a fusion of ska, soul, and something entirely new. We called ourselves skinheads back then, proud of our working-class roots. We found a connection with the Jamaican rude boys, their style, their attitude, it all resonated with us. The music became our anthem, you know. Bands like Desmond Dekker and the Pioneers, they were speaking our language. I remember the first time I heard The Liquidator by Harry J. All-Stars in '69. It was like a revelation. That bass line, that rhythm, it captured everything we were feeling. Suddenly, this music wasn't just something we listened to, it became part of our identity. It was the soundtrack to our lives, our struggles, our celebrations. That's how Skinhead Reggae was born, right there on the streets of Britain. Let me tell you about the Jamaican rude boy bands. They were something else. Back in the day, we'd gather at the dance halls, eagerly waiting for these lads to take the stage. One band I'll never forget is the Pioneers. Their tune, Long Shot Kicked a Bucket, had us all skanking like mad. It wasn't just the music, though. These rude boys had style, attitude, and a rebellious spirit that we skinheads really connected with. They'd strut onto the stage in their sharp suits and pork pie hats, looking cooler than cool. It was like they brought a piece of Jamaica right to our doorstep. Their music and style became a huge part of our identity. We tried to emulate their look, their swagger. It was more than just music, it was a way of life.
That's fascinating. Can you tell us more about how these bands influenced the skinhead fashion?
Well, Rich, it was all about the details. We'd save up for weeks to get a proper Crombie coat or a pair of stay-pressed trousers. The rude boys taught us the importance of looking sharp, even if you didn't have much. We'd polish our boots until you could see your face in them, just like the Jamaican artists did with their shoes. And the music, it gave us a rhythm to walk to, a beat that made us feel 10 feet tall. Those bands, they gave us more than tunes. They gave us an identity.
Now let's hear from our music producer guest about his experiences in the 1970s. Can you tell us about producing reggae music during that time?
Well, Rich, it was an exciting era. The 70s saw reggae really come into its own. We were experimenting with new sounds, pushing boundaries. I remember working with artists who were eager to blend traditional Jamaican rhythms with emerging UK influences. The evolution was fascinating. We started with that upbeat skinhead reggae sound. But as the decade progressed, things slowed down. The bass became even more prominent, and we began incorporating more complex arrangements. As for popularity in the UK, it was incredible. Reggae wasn't just music for immigrants anymore. It was seeping into mainstream British culture. Charts, radio, clubs, reggae was everywhere. Even rock bands were trying to capture that reggae feel. Looking back, I'd say the 70s were when reggae truly found its identity in Britain. It was a privilege to be part of that transformation.
Now let's talk about Trojan Records. As a producer, I have to say Trojan was the backbone of skinhead reggae. They brought the sound of Jamaica to the UK in a way no one else could. You know, artists like Desmond Dekker, he was huge. Israelites was more than just a hit, it was an anthem for skinheads and reggae lovers alike. And let's not forget the Pioneers. Long Shot Kicked a Bucket. That track was playing in every club and on every street corner.
Rich, you're a fan, right? What do you think about Symarip's impact?
Symarip. Skinhead Moonstomp was the ultimate skinhead reggae tune. It captured the energy of the movement perfectly. And what about you, old-timer? I bet you've got some stories about seeing these Trojan artists live back in the day.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing the Maytals at a small club in '69. Toots Hibbert's voice was something else. Pressure Drop had us all skanking till dawn. Trojan didn't just release records, they created a culture. They gave skinheads an identity through music. It's amazing how these artists shaped an entire subculture.
Let's talk about what makes skinhead reggae unique. What are the key musical characteristics that set it apart?
Well, the first thing you'd notice is the speed. Skinhead reggae had a much faster tempo than traditional reggae. It was music you could really dance to.
Absolutely. The up-tempo beat was crucial. But don't forget the bass. These tracks had incredibly heavy bass lines that you could feel in your bones.
That's right. And how would you say the instrumentation differed from other reggae styles?
It was generally simpler. We stripped things back to the essentials: drums, bass, guitar, and maybe some keyboards. It was all about creating a groove that would get people moving.
Compare that to roots reggae, which often had more complex arrangements and slower, more relaxed rhythms. Skinhead reggae was all about energy and danceability.
It's fascinating how it bridged the gap between ska, rocksteady, and traditional reggae. Would you say it borrowed elements from all these genres?
Definitely. It had the energy of ska, the soulful elements of rocksteady, but with that distinct reggae offbeat. It was a perfect storm of musical styles that resonated with the youth culture of the time.
Let's talk about the cultural impact of skinhead reggae. How do you think it shaped British youth culture?
It was massive, Rich. Skinhead reggae brought working-class kids and Jamaican immigrants together. We shared the music, the fashion, the attitude. It broke down barriers.
Absolutely. It wasn't just about the music, it was a lifestyle. The fusion of Jamaican sounds with British street culture created something entirely new.
And that fusion still resonates today, doesn't it?
Of course. Look at the revival scenes, the band's still playing that style. It's part of Britain's musical DNA now.
It paved the way for so many genres too. Two-tone, British reggae, even aspects of punk. Its influence is undeniable.
So, in a way, skinhead reggae was more than music. It was a cultural bridge?
Exactly. It represented unity in working-class communities, black and white kids all bonding over these incredible tunes.
And it showcased the power of music to transcend boundaries. Jamaican artists found a new audience, and British youth found a new identity.
A true cultural exchange that left an indelible mark on our music history. Well, what a fantastic journey through the world of skinhead reggae we've had today. We've explored its origins in the late 1960s, heard incredible stories about Jamaican rude boy bands, and gained insights into the production of this unique genre. Our guests have really brought the era to life, showcasing the cultural significance and lasting impact of skinhead reggae on British youth culture. I'd like to remind our listeners that here at Disruptarian Radio, we're dedicated to keeping this vibrant music alive. We regularly play both classic tracks and new releases in the skinhead reggae and roots reggae styles, so keep tuning in for your fix of these powerful bass-heavy grooves. Before we wrap up, I want to give credit where it's due. This show was written by Ryan Thompson and performed by virtual actors. Thanks for listening and keep the reggae spirit alive.
Care about the color of your skin, it's your heart and soul that matters within. We stand against hate, we stand against fear. SPEAR, we're making it clear.